Hi, everybody. Craig Shacklett here with another casino business podcast. And I'm excited. I've got a fellow entrepreneur in the casino space, casino marketing space. We've got Justin Shank here. He's the principal at Shank Marketing. Justin, thanks for being on.
Yeah, Craig, thank you for having me on. It's the Shank and Shacklett show today, right? It's
I love it. I love alliteration. With each of my kids, I tried to talk my wife into Sean, like Sean Shacklett, but she shot it Sherman Shacklett. So alliteration didn't fly, but we got the Shank Shacklett show. I like that.
Yeah. I've always, I aim for Frank Shank or a Hank Shank or something like that, but I don't know that it'll ever happen.
Well, I love that. And I made a note. I wanted to lead off with it because I think it leads into your business really well. Your tagline on LinkedIn, operation-driven marketing solutions. I love that. So explain what it means.
Yeah. So the operations-driven approach to marketing is basically the way that we approach a situation might be different than other agencies do. We try and really build the inroads with the properties that we work with between marketing and the operations teams. We take a digital first approach to our marketing strategies. That's the type of agency that we are. We're social media marketing, website marketing, online advertising, and we handle reputation management, online customer service, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times we're just looking at social media profiles and online business listings and things like that. Well, that's like this thing that's way out in the ether. People don't always know what it is, what's happening on there. And so the operations marketing approach is that we try and work so that the operations teams are communicating more closely with the marketing teams in-house. And we help to build those inroads. Really, the operations first approach is that with some of these marketing initiatives that we put in place, if we can really build those roads up and the relationships with our operations teams, then we're going to be much more successful as an organization as a whole. And because we work with like restaurants and golf courses and the casino floor and the hospitality side and all of these different retail areas, we find that we'll see something that's written online many times. This is not like a one-off type situation where you need to run and do something, but we track what's happening, what people are saying online, and we start to see some trends. Then we might say, hey, from an operations point, like, do you think there's anything we can do to remedy this situation? For a restaurant, for example, if we hear the same thing over and over and over again on a restaurant review, is there an operations approach to the solution to that? And really, by building those inroads between the operations and marketing teams, that's where we can see some huge successes. One of the biggest things that we've worked on in the past is the relationship between the slots team and the table games team and the marketing teams. Slots always have different machines that are coming onto the floor, new games, there's stuff moving around, and the marketing team is tasked with making sure people know about that. And so, but a lot of times the slots team is in this department and the marketing team is in this department. How do we build those roads together so that they're actually communicating and being very innovative with what they're doing? And so it's really an interesting way to put it. And that's when I came up with the tagline, it's basically that's what we do. So, we're not a traditional agency. We don't just come at it from an advertising standpoint or a creative standpoint. We actually work with your operations team and your marketing team.
So it sounds like there's two parts, where there's one where it's listening to what's going on social and then using that as feedback to help make operations better. You mentioned, like, if you keep hearing the same maybe critique in reviews, it's like that should probably be fixed on the operations side. And then on the other side, if there's some hot new menu item that the head chef's excited about, or a new slot machine or a new game on the table or in the tables, marketing should know about that and they should leverage it to bring people in the door.
That's right. And a lot of times it's just building those relationships with the people that you have in these departments, right? Like, what is our table games manager, like, who are they? Like, what are they doing? When do they work? Like, can we get to know the team a little better? like player development side, the host team and things, they're the people walking the floor all the time. And if I can tell a quick story, we had at one point, one of our clients, they were hosting a VIP event. It was Friday night, VIP event was happening. And during the VIP event, there was a review that was published that said, "I'm at this event." And it was published on, I believe, Facebook. And it was, I'm at this event and I've got this, issue, and this thing happened and I'm angry. And basically, because we had this relationship with the player development team, with the host managers, and the other hosts that were at the event, we were able to, as an agency, text the host and say, "We just came across this review. Here's a picture of the person that put the review up, and they're a guest of." We could identify that they were a guest of the invited person to the event. So they were actually not on their, they wouldn't have been on their initial list because they came as a guest to that VIP event. And so, but what was able to happen was the casino host was able to intercept that person using the photo that we got from online and the review. They intercepted them at the event while this was happening, and they were able to remedy the situation as casino hosts do, right? And it was just a really great experience to be able to see how that went so quickly from here's the review, they're angry, to they changed their review, which doesn't often happen. Don't expect it to happen. Don't ask them to make it happen. Like, it just, that's a bit of a stretch, but it does happen. I have proof, and but that's not the typical scenario. But we were able to, really catch that and then work with them. And that's the operations approach, really. It's that this happened live. We were able to spot it quickly because we had a very close attention to what was happening on their social channels. And then because we had those inroads built with their host team and with the operations team, we were able to quickly find the solution to that, and turn it around and turn that experience around.
So when you engage with the customer and you say, "Hey, here's our approach. We're operations driven," is it something where, as part of the onboarding, within 2 weeks, I need to meet with XYZ person? Does it happen more organically? Like, how? Because it's clear there's a ton of value in getting marketing operations on the same page, because marketing departments that aren't leveraging new games, new restaurant items, they're just leaving money on the table, right? The casino's spending money for these new things. They should broadcast them. Broadcast it, get people in the door. What's your process when you come in to bridge those gaps?
That's a great question. And what we end up doing, first we build a relationship with marketing. We ask lots of questions about how does that work? Like, who do you usually talk to in your restaurants, and who do you usually talk to that are your table games dealers or your slot techs, or other people that are on the gaming floor on a regular basis? Who in marketing, like, have you built these relationships with from that side? So we kind of initially work with the marketing team and find out kind of what the relationships are like. Some properties are really good about this. They have working relationships. Slots sits downs with marketing every week. They talk about the new games that are coming onto the floor, but there's others that it just doesn't happen in that way. And so we try and find, where is the area of improvement, starting with gaming. Typically, you want to make sure that that's really the first place you start, because that's the most important part of the casino game, the casino experience. So, usually that's how we start it. We have a conversation with marketing. We build our own relationship with the marketing team, and then really help them, help them understand that we're there to be supportive and be, a part of their team. And the way that our agency works is we work better when we're an integrated part of a marketing team versus this thing that's way out here that's just doing advertising for them or something like that. We're on the phone with our clients almost every day. We build relationships with our clients. And so that's the first approach, is just to find out where they're at in terms of those things. We ask questions like, have you done any surveys? Do you have any survey systems running now? Can we take a look at them? What are people saying? We do a social media and web on audit to kind of see what the general sentiment is about the property. Is it positive, negative, somewhere in the middle? Can we identify any like specific areas that seem to come up very regularly? Those things that are quantifiable that we can actually report and say, here's a word cloud, or here's like a word cloud, this one pops up the most or whatever, like things like that we can kind of do. But there's lots of different ways to deliver that. Even if it's like, the biggest one, for a lot of the regional properties, the one that I always go back to is like, it's really smoky, right? Like, or whatever. Like that's one that's, Friday, Saturday night, you're going to hear that from people who don't like smoking. Is it something that's actionable, or is it just one night a week, but like we don't, as marketing people, we don't have that information. That's where, it goes back to operations, right? So is there a problem, or is this just the way this is, is there something that's actionable here, or what are the efforts, and usually like a facilities director or somebody else can clarify that, like, this is what's happening, or this is what happened or something. But if you don't know who to go to at your organization or within the team, then it's, that could just be unheard or, kind of something that just slips by.
Is Shank Marketing also responding to players? Like, how much are you proactively putting content out and engaging with customers? And then the second part of that question is, if you come in, what's kind of your exercise, or what's your process for maybe figuring out the voice of the casino? I guess this is kind of a side of that question. Because sometimes it seems like one post, the casino has one voice. It's got emojis and it's just like all almost giggly. And then the next post, it's like very serious. And it just seems like some casinos don't have a consistent voice. So I wonder, one, do you post on behalf of the casino and all or some of yours? And then two, how do you figure out what that voice is when you're taking that over?
Yeah, that's a great question. Also, what some properties have their voice decided. They've gone through exercises that determine the brand voice, and as a whole, this is how we want our social publishing to look. This is how we tend to respond to reviews or comments or questions or things, or this is the tone that we like to take in our social media posts and things. There are others where we go in and they ask for us to come up with that social media brand guidelines, which is basically like we'll create like a response matrix that basically says, if this, then this, and they're very like, these are the way that you respond to a generic thing, and then these are the ones that need to be escalated to someone at the property, or we need to get more information about this particular event, so it goes to these people. And so we develop kind of how that communication works for the casino. So a lot of times we will be setting up the actual brand standards for social media marketing and posting. It really depends on the client. Some of our clients prefer to do it themselves, and we'll help them just stay on target, basically. Or we'll make sure that we're reviewing stuff or they ask us to review things to make sure that it does reflect the brand voice. And what we'll try and do is say, like, how do you want to sound? What is your main messaging or goals, across this, right? You may have one property where their whole, maybe they're a regional property, and their approach is that they want people to know, like how beautiful it is in that area. The rooms in the hotel overlook the water, and we have all these games and amenities and other things. It's a full, resort experience. Come here, for that. And so they may have a different brand voice than a property that's a locals casino, and straight locals casino. They may not have a hotel. Maybe they just want to talk to the locals that are there all the time in that area. They may have a different voice, than a different, resort style leisure property or whatever. And so, it really depends on the property.
How often do properties make more than one, I guess, social presence for I mean, is it generally just the property has a social page, or do sometimes they spin out the steakhouse or the golf course, or do you see different approaches to that?
Yeah, and I generally recommend that there is a place to break all of your amenities out. Most of them on most platforms. However, that can be a pretty daunting task. So sometimes it just doesn't make sense. But if you think about look at TripAdvisor or Yelp, for example, those are where people go to find resorts or restaurants or places like casinos, entertainment venues, things like that. So you definitely want to have your amenities or your other offerings available on all those things. What we do is we call it enhancing your digital footprint, which is basically by creating new listings and creating other, breaking some of your businesses, like the steakhouse out. That's a perfect example. Like the steakhouse, it's higher dollar usually, right? And so, people are going to spend a little bit more there. So it does make sense to make the effort to make sure it's out there. In more platforms, maybe that's one that you also add to Facebook, but it should definitely be available on TripAdvisor, on Yelp, and on some of these other channels. And because there are so many different social platforms that are out there, and there's always new ones coming up and stuff. I don't recommend that you just sprinkle a little bit all over everything. Like for example, a steakhouse on Twitter, what is your goal for being on Twitter? Are you going to actually interact with people and create a really active handle? Probably not. Most places don't, unless their chef is extremely involved, in which case, if you've got a great chef, by all means, have the chef be the voice of the restaurant, and break that out. But the business itself probably wouldn't do super well on Twitter, for example.
I've got more questions marketing wise, but I want to get back to the origin story of Shank Marketing. So how did you start Shank Marketing?
I was at a casino property for about 7 years. I worked for the Swinomish Casino and Lodge in Anacortes, and when I started, it was a locals property, and we built a hotel, bought a golf course, opened a new steakhouse, and really started to develop this internal marketing department. When I started, it was there was only 3 of us in the department, and ultimately we built a very robust team. We built like an internal agency ultimately, and through that whole process, I was able to really focus on, like, I had the freedom to try new things when I was in that department, and my main focus was digital marketing, was the online stuff. My counterpart, Jamada Schwinden, she's the marketing director at Swinomish. She's still there, which is why I mentioned her, but she's really great. And I came from outside of gaming. I wasn't in casino gaming. So she was able to really, lead me up on a lot of the casino gaming marketing stuff. And I was able to learn a lot from that. I also had other mentors that were there at the time, the general managers and general manager at the time when I was brought in. But I came from, I was a publicist at an agency working with movie studios and stuff prior to gaming. And so I worked for, a bunch of studios. Our agency was a national agency. I worked in the Seattle market. So we did, we handled all the films that were coming, talent that was coming to the Seattle, Portland, sometimes Alaska, just the Northwest, basically. We handled all the publicity stuff for that, advanced screenings, and got to work with a lot of really cool, talented people. And it was fun, but I had always wanted to get into casino gaming because I think casino gaming is for me, it's like the perfect world. It's fun. It's entertainment at its core, right? You've got the casino gaming element, which is really exciting. And then you've also got hospitality, you've got food and beverage, you've got it's got everything, and for me, that was always really attractive. Initially in my career, nobody would hire me because I didn't have casino experience, So I finally got in and was able to do that. I worked there for 7 years, and we were able to, and I really, really got to know the tribe that I was working for. I love everything about the tribe that I worked for. And I was really taught a lot by having that experience. And so when I left there, it was about, I went and worked for Offercraft for a little while. I went there. I had known the CEO, Aaron Ezra, for quite a while, and I was excited about this project. And so started working on that. And I realized while I was there that there's a lot of properties that needed an extra hand in marketing, digital marketing specifically, that a lot of properties still hadn't hired a social media marketing manager or person, or they didn't have anyone that on their property that could take really good photos or videos, and there was still some areas for improvement. And I think a lot of times when I was at Offercraft, I saw it because we worked globally. We had clients all over the world. And so this was a global truth that the digital marketing side of any marketing team needed help. There's so much to do in that world that one person cannot handle it. And a lot of properties, if they had one person, a lot of them don't still, if they had one person, they were being asked to do a lot of work. And so, so my thought was that we could come in and help properties really expand that, and then taking that operations approach, because that's what we did at Swinomish. It was an operations approach to digital marketing and other marketing. So that was what sparked the idea. And then, the first night of NIGA in 2017, I ran into, I got to, or it was in San Diego. I got to San Diego, dropped my bags down in my room, went and grab a bite to eat in the evening, and I ran into a COO of one of the tribe's casinos in Washington State, and then a general manager of another casino. Both of them would become my first two clients. And so, so it was pretty cool to be able to just launch it in that way. And it felt like it was the right thing, because that happened. I mean, it was like, I must be doing something right, because the COO, they were like, actually, we're just looking to bring someone in right now. And so we'd love to have you come and help. And so with that engagement, we ended up working for them for 2 years, and developing a position for someone to come in. And ultimately we trained that person. In the last 2 months of being there, we trained that person up, and they're still there to this day. We still work with them on other projects, but we're not as integrated at this point, but we still work with them. And it was just a cool story, and that's kind of our main goal, is that we can get in, we can help, we can stay, we can leave, whatever, we're here, to help.
No, it's a great origin story. I love hearing that. Anybody that listens to this podcast or watches this show knows I love hearing the origin stories and entrepreneurial journeys. So thank you for sharing that. Now, as you expand, it seems like this is it could be a sensitive thing to sell, because you're almost saying like, hey, listen, I looked at your marketing. It's not very good. We can help. Like, there's a term like, nobody wants to hear their baby is ugly. Like, how do you come in and sell what you offer? Or is it they generally know that they have an issue already and they're inviting you in? Like, what's that like?
Well, I can tell you from a marketing standpoint that we're used to it. Everyone always criticizes the marketing people, because we're the ones putting advertising up on billboards and out in TV and out in the world. So everyone's a critic. We already know that. And so you develop a bit of a thick skin when you work in marketing, and I had that story early on, or when I was working as a publicist, even there was this one, we had an event, and basically we got this just amazing shot for this movie. This picture, the picture hit the web. It spread all over the world, and huge, the wires picked it up. It got picked up everywhere. Just a really cool thing, cool story. And the question, and what we heard was, how come you didn't do this? And so it really was an eye-opening moment where, you learn that you got to, have some tough skin in marketing. But also, I don't go in there criticizing people, because I don't know what their strategies are to begin with. And so I mean, we do build some websites and do stuff like that. There's going to be a web person out there that says that our websites aren't good. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's subjective, and it's not always the thing you want, but such is art. And like, so I think there's part of it. I don't go in there and criticize people. I say there are probably some areas of improvement that we can make to certain areas, but ultimately, like, having another resource on board is like, that's what we're trying to sell, is that, like, look, we know that you can't hire 6 other marketing people to work on digital marketing and other marketing initiatives. You can bring our agency on, though, and we'll be there no matter the turnover, no matter what is going on at your property. We'll get to know your property, and then we'll find out what we can do to move forward. We have some proven methods that work, but we want to know from the marketing team's perspective, like, what is it that you're working on? What are your goals? And maybe there is something we can do to help. Maybe there's not, but we find that there's, we've had a lot of successes with the properties we're working with.
So it's more of just a consultative approach. You're not, because I mean, we've got a business, URComped, we've got Trio 360, and you just get cold emails all the time. And the ones for the web developers are like, we've identified 72 parts about your website that suck. And
yeah,
the first couple times I read it, and I'm like, oh, this is just a sales tactic, and I started deleting them all. But it's just interesting to
we don't do those things.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I get those, for our website and stuff, very regularly, even for our own website, which I'm like, I know there's changes that need to be made. I'm a little more focused on our clients right now, but we'll improve our website someday, kind of a thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of websites, and digital marketing in general, how has the pandemic changed casinos' urgency, attitude? How has pandemic affected what you offer?
What's been difficult during the pandemic for us has been finding, like, getting in front of people. Obviously can't happen anymore. Or wasn't happening. We weren't able to go to the traditional, like, conferences and meetings and things that we normally would go to. And because I don't have, like, for my company, like, we don't have those, like, really salesy tactics in place. We never did. We would speak at conferences and ultimately try and help people understand what we did. But for the most part, it was like, hey, we could use some help on this. Would you like to come in and help? Sure. And that was like building relationships with people was where all of that started. And it was at conferences and things. And so for us, we had a really great we have a really great client base going into the pandemic. And frankly, like, going into 2020, it was like we were on a pretty good streak of, like, new clients coming on board and things like that, because for me, the way it would work is, like, I'd go to a conference, I'd have a casual conversation with somebody, like, they'd say, oh yeah, we're working on this, and like, oh yeah, well, let me know if you can, let me know if I can help or whatever, or we'd just hang out and have some food, or whatever. But like, you would see them then. For me, I would see them in January, I'd see them in April, I'd see them in June, I'd see them in July, and I'd see them in October at a conference, for the most part. And I went to some other ones in between those. But basically, there's a ton of touch points there, and I wouldn't pressure anybody into doing that. I've had one marketing director that said, chase me down, and I was like, well, I don't really do that. And she's like, just do it. And I was like, okay. So but I had the permission, to do it. But during the pandemic, when everything closed, the first thing was, how do we reopen? That was the first thing that all of our clients asked, was like, how are we going to reopen? What's the strategies we need to start working on? So we started working on, like, procedures and things like that for reopenings, and kind of focusing on, initially we were very, very busy with closing businesses down online, going through the process on, like, Google and Yelp and all the other, like, online marketing channels, just to show that, like, things were closed. The restaurants were closed, casino was closed, etc. And then you had to, come up with a plan for how we were going to reopen things, let people know about those things reopening, following guidelines that were all put in place. So what happened was, as a result of having a really, really great team, our clients just continued to ask us to do more stuff during the during the closures and before the reopenings and everything, where we had a couple of clients that suspended services, and I was definitely worried that all of our clients were going to do the same thing. But we had others that they just wanted us to continue to engage with their players during the closures. And so we were coming up with creative ideas and creative ways to engage with players online, and keep the ball rolling, keep like some loyalty going and stuff like that. And so we continued to work on that for most of our clients. So it was like the way it changed was people just asked us to do more stuff. There was a lot of websites that needed to be updated with new procedures, and as a result of the new procedures and kind of the like COVID sections on websites and pop-ups and things like that, we had to implement some of those. We for some of our non-gaming clients and other clients that could sell things online, we started to implement online ordering systems. We worked on that quite a bit. Had some successes and some really painful experiences with some of the payment processing places and stuff like that. That was a bit of a challenge sometimes, but we were able to put a lot of like online things available for sale online for other clients that are non-gaming mostly. So yeah, it was crazy, honestly. So yeah.
Well, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So I imagine that going through that probably gave you and Shank Marketing some new skills that you were kind of forced to develop on the fly.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we were able to find some talent as well to join our team. I mean, which was pretty cool. I mean, we had one of our contractors came in, and she started with us just before the pandemic, and then it was like, it was unfortunate we had to, basically let her contract go for a little while. It was only like a month, and then she was able to come back. And then we were also able to, because we started getting more business from our existing clients, we were able to find some talent out there and bring them in, and, really started to like towards September, after properties had been reopened for a period of time, I feel like they were more comfortable with starting to, move forward on some of the things we had talked about before the pandemic. And so we started getting more work coming in September. I mean, there was nothing happening. I mean, other than like the work we were doing for existing clients, there was no new contracts coming in or even proposals or anything from like, March through June, July, basically for us. It was all of our existing clients were asking us to do other things, but we weren't seeing any new things come in, and so, yeah, with the, September seemed to be like where people started seeing the numbers come back in and feeling more comfortable about numbers, with revenues and stuff like that. So that's when we started to get some new things happening, and we're able to find some good talent out there as a result of some layoffs and, furloughs and things like that, and able to build our team a little bit, and really prepare for kind of the next thing, which is this giant boom that we're all expecting. We've got, as people get vaccinated and we get a little bit closer to people feel more comfortable traveling and going to visit properties and stuff like that more regularly, I think we're in for a really big time for the casino industry. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting period once we can get over the hump and people feel a little bit more comfortable about leaving their homes and stuff.
Yeah, well, I sure hope so. And congrats on adding the talent, because we got a friend, Juan Romero, he's CEO of Volante Software. Volante means flywheel.
Okay.
And with you adding talent, obviously Shank Marketing becomes more powerful. You have a broader skill set, and then you're adding more to each of your customers, and then you get more customers because you can do more. I mean, that's the beauty of adding.
That's the goal.
Yeah. You're growing from a one-man shop. Obviously, you had a lot of talents that got your first customers, but then as you add more, then you can just do so much more. So yeah, that's exciting.
That's always, just to elaborate on that, that's always what I look for. When I was working in-house at the casino, I always look for people who have skills that I don't have, because I know my weaknesses, I know where I'm strong, and I know where I need help. And there's a lot to learn in online marketing stuff, and platforms are constantly changing. I mean, you've got thousands and thousands of engineers working at Google. I mean, I can't compete with that. I don't know what's going on there. And so but as marketers, we're asked to use their systems, and understand what's going on. And so I need to have people on our team that can really get out there and learn those things, know what the best practices are for, Google My Business marketing or Facebook marketing, or, all the different areas that we kind of touch. And so it's really important that, that I'm able to bring these people on that have other skills, so I can focus on my job and do my part in, growing the company. And also, there are certain things that I keep on my task list, where other people they'll handle something new. We need a new graphic designer, or we need whatever it is that we need to bring in. I am not a graphic designer. However, I have done graphic design, but that's just work in marketing. Sometimes you're asked to do things you're not the best at. But
yeah, that is one of the keys, but also can be the most difficult part of scaling a business. Is like, there's something that you just do and just trusting somebody else to do it. But once you get comfortable with that, then sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So you touched on Google My Business. This isn't anybody tuning in. I know, like, I just love hearing about people's businesses, and especially people that are experts in certain areas. So I know sometimes this may sound like an infomercial, but it's not. But I just want to preface my next question is like, so on your website, you do post a lot of good informative blog posts. You had two caught my eye recently. One was about Google My Business, and then another was about memes. And these are just kind of practical tips for casino marketers. So maybe you could touch on what those articles were about.
The Google My Business one is just the Google My Business came around. I mean, there's been it's been called so many different things by Google over the past decade or so. And it was Google Places at one point. Now it's Google My Business. And the way that works, they allow now for publishing, and we see just astronomical numbers when we make an effort to publish content, much like on Instagram and Facebook. And actually just adding photos to your business listings. You can add products, services. You can add all kinds of stuff to your Google listing. For a resort, I mean, there are a ton of sections that you can be added to your Google My Business listing, and not a lot of people know about that. It does limit, like, some businesses are allowed to publish content, like put up a post. Others are not. All businesses can add photos and videos and things to their GMB listing, but not all businesses can post publish a post or whatever. And so anyway, so we put a lot of effort into that, because what is happening is, you're competing with Google ads from competitors probably. But the most time, most search things are when somebody's searching for your name, your business is going to pop up in the little sidebar of the Google search. And ultimately that article is just talking about, there's a lot of numbers, a lot of really positive benefits to focusing on Google My Business. A lot of businesses still are not. They don't realize the power of it. And so, we're really trying to push that message that it is powerful, and it's a very strong platform to be on. And it is social media, and people can, with reviews, the majority of our reviews that we see from any given business that we work with comes in from Google, and that's your GMB listing. And so not only, are you getting the majority of your reviews coming in through Google, but you can also post and, show pictures. I mean, we have some photos that are up even on my own, like on the Shank Marketing page. Like, I have photos that have been viewed 10,000 times, Yeah. And then the meme one, I mean, there was recently, and I don't know if that has to do with that, but some of the talent that I brought on, Courtney Carr came, she came to us this summer, and she started playing around with GIFs and adding some stuff to the Giphy store. And And it was like little Shank Marketing things, to the Giphy store. Those are getting thousands and thousands of views. I mean, and it's not like resulting in any business for me necessarily, but it's like we can use them in we're just using them on our own posts, right? But I was shocked by how amazing that was working. And like, it's pretty cool to see it. Like you can just, if you want to tag, Shank Marketing in one of your posts, you just search the little Giphy store and you can find us now in there. But so like a lot of other, businesses could be doing that. It's clearly, an area of opportunity for more eyeballs. And it may or may not result in business,
Yeah, that's something that I saw our mutual friend, Brian Christopher, he's got gifs. In the URComped Slack channel, somebody sent a couple Brian Christopher gifs. I'm like, he's a smart marketer.
Yeah. We've worked with him. We actually have an engagement with him coming up again pretty soon. And yeah, Brian's a great guy. Like, love working with him and Britt. And we've been doing Julia Carcamo and myself. We've been doing this influencer marketing webinar every other Thursday. It was a 7 or 8 part series. I think it's 8 parts now because Brian is joining us for one. And but what we had set up was an introduction one, and then we went into we invited a bunch of casino marketers on board. So we had some casino marketers to talk to. This next week, we're talking to, hold on, let me grab the date. But we're talking to casino operators in the next one, which is we have Daria Wu from the Golden Nugget, Jay Ellenberger from Seven Feathers Casino, and then we've got Buddy Frank coming on to that one to talk from the operations standpoint, about slot marketing and the influencers specifically. And so the way that we developed that was we have some sessions with influencers themselves, the Slot Cats, Slot Lady, the Francine, which is oh God, I'm forgetting her channel. It's I'll think of it. Lady Luck GQ, Lady Luck. So and then we've got some other sessions coming up. It's been really fun to do that, where we kind of had a more robust view of it. So not only are you going to hear from the casino marketers, but also from the operations people, the influencers themselves, and then we're going to talk about like other types of influencer, lifestyle influencer marketing in one of our last sessions. So that's been pretty fun.
All right, and let's drill in on the memes specifically. So what are some opportunities casinos have, or any business that is out there? What can they take advantage of with memes?
The memes they kind of fall along the same lines as like the national calendar holidays. The things like yesterday was National Margarita Day. And ultimately, the blog that we wrote is talking about, this is basically free space where on your bingo card, right? That's the opening line. And ultimately, these are areas of opportunity where I wouldn't do them all because there's like a calendar holiday for everything. There's memes for all kinds of stuff. You need to make sure that you're being sensitive about where you work in order, you don't want to jump onto every single trend. But some of them will make sense for your business, and you can kind of find fun ways to do it. The most recent one was that Bernie meme that went all over the place.
Where he's just cold with his hands in his armpits, like just
yeah. It drove, honestly, and I'll tell you that meme drove me crazy at first. I was like, why is this funny? But that's what honestly, why is this the thing people jumped onto? I started writing this other blog about why I thought that was like just crazy, and I was talking about the Super Bowl with the Seahawks and New England Patriots, where the end of that game is talked about forever. But one of the more popular things that happened during the game was during Katy Perry's halftime show, and they had the left shark thing.
Yeah.
And that was like, nobody talked about what else was going on in the game. It was just like left shark. There's left sharks all over the internet. It went totally viral and went crazy. And lots of people were jumping on board and all that. And it's funny, but it was like, I was more interested in the game,
Yeah.
Anyway, but the meme that was going around with Bernie was just hilarious. There was, it did, I finally I got it. It was fine. I was just like, I don't get it at first. And everyone jumped on board, and like, people were having a lot of fun with it. And like, it is like that free space where, it's just something that you can quickly create a meme, and kind of jump on the trend, and participate and just have some fun with your followers and your fan base. Like, I think it's really great to be able to jump on those things. The other one was the national holidays. Basically, there's like a calendar day for everything, and you can create promotions around these things that are actually fairly simple. You can create a really nice, marketing deck or a series of photos or something to support something coming up. The first time I ever did this was a number of years ago, and we celebrated National Watermelon Day. And we just gave away free slices of watermelon, at a casino, right? And it's so simple, but like, it was an online thing, because a lot of those like calendar holidays are like online things. People are like, Happy Margarita Day and whatever. And you see a lot of properties doing it now. But it's like more than just the, Happy Margarita Day. Like, are you giving them a discount on that? Are you inviting them in for like, Taco Tuesdays and a margarita? Or like, what are you doing, to really enhance that and create an actionable thing? There's tons of those days. They got National Cookie Day, they got National whatever day. And those ones are always just there. It's this huge area of opportunity. The memes come around, fairly regularly. I can't say there was a bigger one than Bernie at this point this year, but there will be one, and so it's kind of like, you have to be, as a marketing team, we have to be flexible, and we have to be available to these things that are popping up very quickly, and that's really the thing that we want to help properties with, is the ability to jump on these things quickly. It doesn't need to go through a 2-week work order or whatever. We can just do it. And a lot of times, back to the operations stuff, it was when I came up in the casino, it was the ability that I had to take an idea and put it online quickly. I was given that trust and that permission, basically, by our property to do things that I thought were important, or were going to drive some additional views. Or we're going to drive some social engagement, or we're going to increase our reach as a property. And those things have to happen quickly. And so it's really good to, hire good people and trust them to do their jobs. That's what I would say is like the key to that.
Did you get any memes out with Cat Head Lawyer? That was probably the funniest video I've seen in a long time.
I did not, but no, we didn't. But that just, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and to be honest, I haven't seen any memes. It's just the video on its own is so golden that I haven't seen anybody really capitalizing on it. But yeah, I'm all about memes on our Trio 360 LinkedIn page. Once I discovered how to make memes, now I'm probably doing it too much and maybe damaging our brand. I don't know, but I'm all about the memes. Well, you talked about hiring good people. If a casino wants to get a hold of you, talk about marketing, maybe bring you in, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
They can call me on my cell phone. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. Email Justin Shank, or it's justin@shankmarketing.com. But yeah, LinkedIn is great. Also, if I can plug very quickly, the Clubhouse app. Get on there. If you have an iPhone, get on there and claim your name, claim your handle at least. It's invitation only right now. Users are given a number of invitations every week. But I'd strongly recommend getting into Clubhouse if you're in the casino business. We're having some really cool conversations in there, and it's been a really fun place where a lot of people are just having conversations, and it's really been cool to see it so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for coming on. We got to do this again soon. And good luck. Are you going to, what's the next trade show you're going to?
Hoping to go to the National Indian Gaming Association's conference in July. I hope. I take a look at Native Nations events. They're having some good events coming up as well. So I'd look at those too. I'm hoping to go to their GM conference or their hospitality conference. So we'll see. I mean, I haven't been traveling a whole lot. I've just been visiting clients very sparsely. I've only, over the last year really. So I'm excited to hit the road again. But gotta have some conversations about that.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at going to NIGA in July, and so
Okay.
yeah, maybe we should have another conversation definitely before then. And anyway, well, Justin, thank you again for coming on, and we'll do this again in no time.
Thank you for having me, Craig. Appreciate it. Talk soon.
Talk to you soon.